Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Yes, we are back with another video. We're going back to back, baby. We are going off with the content. Go. So before we start this, smash that like button and go subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 100 subscribers, guys. I appreciate all of your support. Let's do this now. Obviously, by the title and thumbnail, you guys can see that I'm gonna show you guys the best realistic settings to have on Forza Horizon 5. Now, for this demonstration, I am going to be using my Koenigsegg Agera R. This is obviously spec'd after the Stradman's one that he has right now. So, I'm going to use this car as a demonstration car for today, and hopefully you guys will find this useful. Before we start, if you guys have any other sort of settings that you use for realistic driving, make sure to comment it down below so I can include that in my driving experience here as well. I think that will be awesome. Now, let me show you guys something very cool. Now, as you guys can see here, I do play this game quite a lot. You guys can see I have time driven on this game, 665 hours. That's a lot of, that is a lot of time spent in this game. So you guys know that I clearly know what I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff. So, let me show you guys what I'm actually trying to show you. Now, here, I am on fully stock settings in terms of settings. So if you go into our settings here, go to settings, you go into difficulty, this is what you would usually get in the standard sort of settings in Forza when you first load it in. And also, so what we're mainly going to focus on today is difficulty and HUD and gameplay as well. So these two are the primary things that we're looking at today. And everything else I'll show you guys in another video if you are interested. Now, let me start off by saying this settings, if you're going to use these settings, I would recommend if you're on a controller or if you're new to the game, you're still trying to get used to stuff. However, if you want a more of a realistic experience in this game, and you really want to take it to the next level, especially if you have a steering wheel like me, I have a Logitech G29. If you have something similar to this, I recommend you would go with the settings that I'm about to show you. Now, let me hop out of the settings. I want to show you what the driving is like in just the standard settings that Forza gives you. Obviously, this is going to be on auto mode. If you're really comfortable, if you find auto really fun, this is for you, I suppose. But again, you have driver's assist, you have braking assist, you have all sorts of assists. And if you really want to slide the car, it doesn't even slide as much. Like that's basically all you're gonna get, right? If you really want to slide it around corners, you're gonna struggle quite a bit. You're not gonna get that realistic feeling as much. As you guys can see, if I'm pressing my shifters right now, it's not shifting the gears because it is on auto mode. And you know, if you're an auto mode person, go for it. But I personally like to have a raw feeling. I want to feel my tires spinning, taking a corner, going 120 miles an hour. Oh god, no. Right, that's just personally not me. I want to feel some sort of like the car is really fighting me, you know? Like, look at that. I can't even do a donut without having to like fully stop and do that. It's cool, but we can make Forza so much better, Now, let me show you what settings I usually like to drive on. And also, just to confirm, these settings are if you're just trying to cruise by yourself, you're really trying to get a feel of the car. This is not meant for competitive racing. You can, but it is not meant for competitive racing. It is purely for just your fun, just driving around and enjoying the car. That realism you get, this is what I'm going to show you. Now, we'll go back into the settings here. And the first thing we're going to do is chuck the driver tile difficulty. I mean, it's really up to you, but I just like to have expert or pro. I usually like to have it because when I do regular races, I would like to get an extra bit of money out of the race, you know? And driver's assist preset, I usually chuck this all the way to custom. Yeah, put it into custom, and then you go braking. I personally like to keep anti-lock on, mainly because if you do have anti-lock off, when you slam on the brakes, your car will just slow down on a straight line, if that makes sense. It's sort of weird, but if you want to try it out, give it a try with anti-lock off. But I personally like to have it on. And steering, honestly, just chuck it in simulation. I like it in simulation. I'm not too sure exactly what the difference is between standard and simulation, but I feel like there is actually a difference when you're doing racing. You can actually feel a little bit more of a steering sort of being assisted in standard mode, but simulation, the name itself makes sense. Traction control, I like to have it off. I like my car to be a bit more on the slidey side. Like usually on a real car, if you chuck your foot to the pedal off a line completely on the dry surface or the wet surface, you're gonna spin up your tires. And I want that, because if you have traction control on, you're not gonna get that slip as much. So I usually like to have it off, and it gives you a bit more of a challenge to get the car off the line, and I really enjoy that. And if you want to really set it around the corner, you can just easily do it. You know, you don't have to change settings while doing it. You can just chuck it in and do it. Pull the e-brake, you already drift. Stability control, honestly, stability control, I like to keep it off. As you guys can see, the description on the right says that it keeps the car from spinning out under difficult cornering conditions. It's like if you want to really try to push it into a corner and you start sliding out, if your back end starts to slide out, the stability control really keeps the car in place. But I like to have it off because it gives me a bit more of a struggle to keep the car. I know it's weird, but it's also realistic. That is what this video is about, the realistic settings. So you can also play around and find out. But we also have shifting. This also depends on the car I'm driving. If I'm driving a full-on manual car, I like to chuck it in manual with clutch, so I can use the clutch for that. But since I'm driving the Agero today, I'm going to be using just the manual setting here. And for the driving line, you know, usually you're driving and you have this drift zone, and then you have this blue line appear on the road. I personally don't like that, so I would just chuck it all the way off. Damage and tire wear, simulation mode. You guys are probably like, whoa, you're weird for that, but I personally like it in simulation because the tires wear out after a certain time. Like, let's say you're doing a trip in your car in Forza Horizon, right? If your tires do slip, you will slide out. You will literally slide out. Like, if you're trying to do acceleration and your tire wear is gone 100%, you cannot do the pull. Your car will go sideways here and there. It's insane. So I like to keep it in simulation mode. Plus, it makes me want to drive more carefully, but also pushes me to the limit. Like, okay, I cannot crash the car, but I also want to go fast. You know, because if you crash the car, it's gonna do engine damage. You're gonna have to reset all the settings anyway. But yeah, rewind. I like to keep it on just because sometimes you might fall off a cliff. You want to go back on. Launch control is definitely on all the time. Now we're gonna save these settings and give it a try with the settings that we have here. Obviously you can hear me shifting my gears, and you can manually change your gears. That is a dub. Now if I just send the car off a stop here, you see how the car is sliding? That is exactly what I love. You really get that slide going in a car like a Koenigsegg. You can really get that slide going. Oh yeah. Remember, you have to really get a good grip of the car to really understand how it drives. Oh boy. You really have to get a really good grip. I haven't driven the Agera in quite some time, but it is truly an amazing car to drive. You're taking a corner like that, just check it. Oh boy. Guys, I promise I'm not this bad. But yeah, you guys get the point. If you want the realistic sort of drive, obviously I like to take it easy if I'm taking realistic. The simulation steering really gives it a kick in the back for you, that's for sure. You guys get the point. That was a clean 360, I can't lie. Actually, since we're in this video already, let's try something. That was simulation steering. Now, I sometimes drive in standard. I just realized, because if I chuck it in standard, watch the difference between that lap time you just did. Watch how much more control I have of the car while it's drifting. That's just pure. That's just my idea. But just take a look at how the car reacts compared to the other times we just sent it on this corner. More control, a lot more control on your steering. Again, it is up to your driving I guess, feeling that you have for the game, what kind of driving you want to do. But this is standard mode. You can really send it into the corner and really keep that drift going because you're on standard driving, standard steering right there. So again, it is up to your personal sort of preference. I would probably sit in standard or simulation. Again, depends on what I'm doing. If I'm just driving around, chuck in a simulation. If I'm just drifting around, standard. But hey, let's sit in standard for this video, okay? Also with the damage and tire, I'll show you guys that setting in a second, how that actually works. But also let's check out the launch control setting. I turned it on. So how do you do the launch control? Some of you might not even know how to do a launch control. So first things first, chuck your car in first gear. Hold your e-brake. So for me, it is the circle button on the. Just pull your e-brake, and then hold the accelerator, just like that, and it'll come up with launch control on your gauge on the right there. And all you gotta do is just let go of your e-brake, and your car will launch. It is significantly much better than just holding your foot on the brake and just accelerating. You're gonna get a lot more wheel spin compared to a launch control. You see how the car just managed to get off the line? That's what launch control does. And especially if you're doing a drag race, that feature will be pretty awesome. Head back into the settings here. I'm gonna show you what I like to have in my HUD and gameplay. Now, first things first, camera view, it doesn't matter because you can change your camera view with the buttons in your controller or your keyboard or your steering wheel. So head-to-head request, I like to have it off. Map, if you're new to the game and you don't know where things are, I would recommend you have the map on. But if you actually have a decent idea of where things are on the map, just turn it on, just turn it off, because on the left side of the screen, it will take so much more space. You'll feel more into the game. It doesn't feel like a game, it feels like you're actually in the car. That's just how I feel. Anna, I like to have it off. Convertible on, because in some convertible cars you can put the roof down and off. Forza Link, turn it off. I personally don't want it. It's just more buttons on the left side. Lap time and positions, I like to have it off unless I'm doing an actual race. Wrong way warnings off. Names of the cars off. Speedometer, I like to have it in digital. Again, it's the space I want in my screen. Units, I like to personally have it in metric because I'm in Australia, so we'll use horsepower, newton meters of torque, kilometers an hour, things like that. And power units, you can go to horsepower or PS or kilowatts or whatever you want to use it. But this is what I use for my HUD and gameplay. I recommend you guys would use this as well if you're living, like, just for these settings here, units and power units. If you're in UK or Australia that uses kilometers an hour, I would recommend you use these sort of units and power units. But that's about it for the HUD and gameplay. Let me show you what it looks like with those changes now. Voila. So much more neater and looks so much better. Yet you don't have the map on the left side just bothering you anymore. You don't have all these little buttons and everything. All you have is your car and your gauge. And honestly, if you're driving in first person, look how much better it looks. You have more view of the car and the map. That is just what I love. It's just so much better, and it really makes me feel like I'm driving the car. Look at that. You really do feel immersed in the game. Now, you guys just probably saw that my tires just slipped up a little bit, and you're like, whoa, why is that happening? Let me show you why. Now, if you go into the settings, once again, settings is our favorite button on today's video. So sometimes in my controller, in my steering wheel, it doesn't really show up in the game for some reason. It's a little bug. It's probably my steering wheel or the game. But usually if this happens, like let's say you binded your keys on your steering wheel to your game and it doesn't show up, simply just go in your advanced controls, not advanced, controls, change input, go into your wheel setting. This is the standard settings that Forza gives you. I have a preset for this. This is the preset I have. I'm just gonna slowly scroll down on the settings I have on these, so you guys can copy the same ones if you have a Logitech G29 steering wheel. But these are the settings I have for my steering wheel. Now, we save and continue when we hop out. Now, I have this button in my steering wheel that I set where you can pull out the information on the screen. So if I press this, we have all of this settings. Right, with a few buttons you can scroll through this. We have general, where you can see the power output, your torque on the left side there, your boost, which gear you in, your clutch, etc. Everything is, even if you pull your e-brake, it shows up. And you can see how the steering angle on the right side there. Now, if you go into friction, you have tire friction, suspension, body acceleration. This is the G meter, essentially, the G-force. You can see how that thing works. You slam on the brake, it goes there. It's pretty cool if you're really into racing stuff. But my favorite part about this thing is the damage. Now, as you guys remember earlier, we crashed into the wall, and you can see on the top there, on the top left there, we have 29% damage to our front. And because of that, look at that, because of the damage from the front, it did 4% damage to our steering. That is, honestly, you guys are probably like, oh, it's not much. Like in real life, that would cause a big issue, but 4% of your steering is actually quite a bit of a change. The more you drive in Forza, the more you realize that. Now we got some issues with the brakes there as well on the front left, but the biggest of all is the tires. You see the tires are 89% gone essentially. It is going to be extremely hard for you to get any traction in your literal tires. You cannot. It is just impossible. It's hard. Do you get what I mean when I like simulation mode? Obviously because I was doing all those donuts and all crazy stuff earlier. But if you want to reset your car, simply go to your pause menu, go to your settings, go to difficulty, go all the way down to here, chuck it in none, save the setting, and chuck it back into simulation and save the setting, and your car will be resetted back to what it was. And you have more acceleration, less tire spin, you have more grip. So essentially you get the overall idea of this video. It is to show you guys the realistic settings. If you want to see what settings I use for my wheel, like the app and everything I use for the wheel, make sure to comment down below or get me 10 likes on this video, and I'll show you the best settings to have on your steering wheel, and you will be able to enjoy this game the way I do. You already saw how long I spent on this game. You already know it's such a fun game. You just need the right settings. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what you want me to show you next, because honestly I want to show you guys the best parts about this game, because a lot of people hate it, but I just want to show you the best parts. Stay tuned, guys. Love you all. See you in the next one.